Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Is it permitted for a woman to read the Megillah on behalf of herself, on behalf of her friends, or even on behalf of men? Now, while this question may sound a little strange, being that the average observant Jew has never seen a woman read the Megillah, nonetheless, we must analyze this matter according to halacha due to the growing trend among some groups who push for a modernized, and in their words, greater privilege, women rights, and want to delegate them the ability to read the Megillah at least on behalf of other women. Now, without going into the ill-fated disposition of the motivations of this movement, we will analyze the matter purely from a halachic perspective and whether a woman can be mitzi someone else with reading the Megillah. But the question is likewise relevant to all sects of Jewry, as what do you do in a situation in which there is no man available to read the Megillah? The woman has a kosher Megillah by her. Can she read the Megillah for herself? Should she read it for herself? And can she be yotze and read it with a bracha? And can she do so on behalf of other women in a case that men are not available? And if so, must she do so? And what do you do in a community the only person knows how to read the Megillah, to read Hebrew, is a woman? And there are Jews, men and women, who need to hear. Can she read it for them? So the subject of whether a woman is kosher to read the Megillah is shrouded in confliction and confusion amongst the texts and the poskim. On the one hand, the argument can be made that since women are equally obligated in the mitzvah of Megillah reading just as men, therefore they can read it as well, to be mitzi others. On the other hand, the argument can be made that the sages never validated a woman to read Megillah just like they can't read the Torah for Kriyas HaTorah. So practically, what do the poskim have to say? However, before we begin our discussion, we must emphasize that even in those cases that we will determine that it is permitted for a woman to read the Megillah, this only applies if she has a kosher Megillah available and knows how to read it with at least the proper pronunciation. So in the poskim we find a differentiation between a reading on behalf of men versus a reading on behalf of women. It all begins with a Gemara in Megillah 19b and an Erich in 2b, which seems to state that a woman is a valid Megillah reader. Akol Kerenas Megillah La'asuya Nashim, to include women. On the other hand, we have a Tosefta in Megillah chapter 2, Mishnah 4 of the Tosefta, in which it states that women are invalid readers. So we have a contradiction in the sources of the Talmud. And the poskim offer various ways of answering this contradiction, which will then determine the halacha of whether a woman is a valid reader or not. Some poskim rule, indeed, there is a contradiction here, and we ignore the Tosefta and we rule like the explicit Talmudic statements that women are 100% valid for Megillah reading. For men, for women, they're valid just like a man. There's no difference. So is the first opinion mentioned in the Shulchanaruchharav of the Mechaber in chapter 689 halacha 2, which follows the opinion of Rashi, the opinion of the Rambam, as explains the Gra and the Magid Mishnah, one opinion mentioned in the Rush, and brought down in many other Achrayim. However, a second approach in poskim is recorded by the Mechaber there in the Shulchan Aruch, which holds that no, there is no contradiction, and indeed we rule like both sources. As the Talmud in Megillah Neirichin is referring to a woman reading on behalf of woman, in which she is valid. However, the Tosefta is referring to a woman reading on behalf of men, in which she is invalid. This opinion that's mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch is held by Tosfos, the Smag, the Re'aim, the Bahag, the Mordechai, one opinion in the Rush, and other Achrayim. Now, what is the reason behind this opinion, so that women are invalid for reading for men? So we find three reasons recorded. Reason one, the Magen Avram brings the name of the Rishonim, is because it's similar to Kriyas HaTorah, and women are invalid to read the Torah due to Kvayat HaTzibur, as mentioned in the Talmud. A second reason recorded is because women are only obligated in hearing the Megillah, not in reading the Megillah. So they are initially invalid readers. And if so, how can a woman who is of a lesser obligation, only obligated in hearing, be mitzi a man who is obligated in the reading, which is of a higher level obligation? So is the reason of the Bahag, as explained in the Pri Megadim and the Taz in 271-2 and the Bir Hagra, and other Rishonim and Achrayim. A third reason recorded in some Rishonim is due to the prohibition of Kol Isha. It's forbidden for a man to hear a woman sing. She's going to be singing the Megillah Trop. the tune. So records the Kolba, the Orchos Chaim. However, most poskim negate this approach, as is evident from the fact that they don't bring it as a reason. So, to summarize, so far we have offered two approaches. One approach which validates women as readers for even men. A second approach which validates women as readers for women, but invalidates women as readers for men. We now have a third and fourth approach. The Mishnah Berurah in Sharatzin 689:15 records the Rishonim, the Karban Asano, and so were all the Achrayim, that a woman is always invalid to read for a group, whether it be a group of men or a group of women, and that the Sefta's permission, the Gemara's permission and allowance for a woman to read is only on behalf of herself or a single woman. And we then have a fourth approach, which is recorded in the Magen Avram, based on the Medrash Hanelam, which is the Zohar and Rus, that a woman should never read the Megillah even on behalf of herself and should be yotze from a man. So 4 approaches, completely valid for everyone, valid for women and valid for men, valid for herself and for a single woman, but not for a group of women, and certainly not for men, and not valid for anyone, not even herself. How do we rule? What's the halacha? So initially, as the poskim all conclude, we suspect for the fourth opinion of the Magen Avram, and so is the custom of all Jewry from all generations, as writes the Ben Ish Chai and others, that women are to endeavor to hear the Megillah reading from a man, a male reader. Even if it's just on behalf of herself, she should have a male read the Megillah for her. However, if men are not available, and she must fulfill the mitzvah, then we say certainly she should go ahead and read from a kosher Megillah on behalf of herself with the proper pronunciation, and she may even say a bracha. As the main opinion follows, that women are valid readers for women. Likewise, even if there's a group of women that need to hear Megillah, and there are no men readers available, a woman is allowed to read on their behalf, even with the bracha. As the main opinion follows, that a woman is valid even for a group of women, unlike the third and fourth approach. However, if there are men who need to hear the reading and there's no men available who know how to read Hebrew, and the only person who knows how to read is a woman, then since this matter is under a legitimate debate in the poskim, while we tell her she may read for the men, a bracha may not be said due to suspicion that maybe they do not fulfill their obligation. And as conclude the Achrayim, in all the above cases that a woman read either for herself or for other women or for men, she should rehear the Megillah reading again from a man if it later becomes available, although without a blessing, because maybe she was already yotze. In the event that she is saying a blessing, such as was reading for herself or another woman or woman, then the bracha of Lishmaya Megillah is said and not Al Mikra Megillah. So final summary, lichatchila, a woman is to hear Megillah from a man and is not to read it on her behalf or on behalf of others. And those that lichatchila set up Megillah readings with a woman reader are going against tradition and breaking halacha, as is recorded in the poskim. However, in the event that there are no men available to read the Megillah, then certainly she is to read the Megillah with a blessing on her behalf or even on behalf of another woman or group of women. And in a time of need, she may even read it for men who don't know how to read Hebrew, although in that case it's read without a blessing.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.